You look up, you see the moon splitting in half. Aren't you going to be like, everyone get up? Look at this. Everyone. Hey, you. Look at that. Look. Hey, you right there. Could you look up, please? That's going to be my verification. No, guys, they recorded every detail about everything that they saw happening in the skies. They recorded every time Halley's Comet came by. They recorded all these things. They would have been pretty darn freaked out by the moon splitting in half, but no one was. Why? Most obvious explanation is didn't happen.
If you like to attack the Quran, you will see today that the Quranic argument will suffocate you.
Using these lunar reconnaissance orbiter camera images, we have now found many lobate scarps that we did not know previously existed on the moon. This is an example of one of those scarps. It's called Gregory Scarp, and it is this feature that's running down through the image here and pointed to by the arrows. Lobate scarps like Gregory are formed when crustal materials are pushed together to form what's called a thrust fault, and that's illustrated in this diagram up here. Crustal materials are actually pushed together and then break, forming a scarp. Again, just like the Gregory Scarp here. We know the moon is shrinking by looking at the lobate scarps in detail. They actually reflect the crustal materials of the moon being pushed together, breaking, and being thrust over one another. So that indicates that something has been causing the moon to actually contract or shrink. What's exciting about these findings for me is that the moon is not a dead body. It's not an object where everything that happened on the moon happened billions of years ago. These scarps could be younger than a billion years. They could be, in fact, as young as a couple of 100 million years old, or they could be even younger than that. And that means, in geologic terms, the moon is active.
Pretty darn freaked out. Obvious explanation is didn't happen.
One of the reasons why we do not have heaps of documented evidence was because most people were asleep at night. Remember, this is the 7th century. More importantly, there is no reason to assume that the split occurred for a long duration of time. So even if one was awake at the time, it is not likely that one would have noticed the moon splitting. Furthermore, even if you did see the moon split for a short period, you would most likely doubt yourself after seeing it return to its original state. Going around telling other townfolk that you saw the moon split would pretty much cause them to doubt your sanity. If you were someone that documented events, you wouldn't believe whoever told you that it split in the first place. If by chance you were someone that did witness the moon splitting and went ahead to document it, then like most ancient documents, yours may have been lost due to the passage of time. Or maybe not, maybe such documentation has survived but we simply have not heard of it yet. So is the absence of evidence evidence of absence? If so, then the Great Wall of China didn't exist during the time of Marco Polo, since he didn't make mention of it in his writings.
Here, I'm giving an example. Matthew, chapter 27, verses 52 and 53. It says, and the graves were opened. Grave. No cemetery, in the cemetery, graveyard. The graves were opened. After the alleged resurrection of Jesus, the graves were opened, and many bodies of the saints who had fallen asleep and were dead and buried were raised. And coming out of the graves after his resurrection, they went into the holy city of Jerusalem and appeared to many. People came out of the graves and they marched down the streets of Jerusalem. People in their coffins or napkins, all worn out, only skeletons. They came out of the graves and they walked the streets of Jerusalem. And what happened? Finished, that's all. Finished, full stop. Look, when people come out of the graves and walk the streets of Jerusalem, surely people saw. And that's news. That will become world news. You know that? If people from the graves come out in Birmingham, I tell you, it'll be world news. Walking the streets of Birmingham in the napkins. It'll be news. Out of the 27 books of the New Testament, only Matthew records it. Nobody else saw it. Nobody saw it. Nobody heard about it. Look, once you come out of your grave, would you like to go back? Huh? What happened to them? Where did they go? Were they transformed? Did they were taken up to heaven? What happened? Nothing, not one word.
Most obvious explanation is didn't happen.
Where'd that come from?
اقتربت الساعة وانشق القمر وإن يروا آية يعرضوا ويقولوا سحر مستمر وكذبوا واتبعوا أهواءهم وكل أمر مستقر ولقد جاءهم من الأنباء ما فيه مزدجر حكمة بالغة فما تغني النذر فتول عنهم يوم يدعو الداعي إلى شيء نكر